On this beautiful morning, I thought I would take you on a garden tour. It is beginning of April. There's been lots of changes and lots to go on in the garden. So let's get to it. Well, here's the garden as you walk along the sidewalk. This hollyhock has been here since spring, and it flowered all through winter. The herb bed is just amazing. Springtime for herbs is really the best. This little bay tree is getting lots of new leaves, and I just picked a bunch of mature leaves off of it to save and dry. This yellow oregano really brings in some fun color. The thyme is just starting to flower. Here is old parsley. I'm just going to take it out and plant some new. The mint has been nicely contained to this pot. This bed will be tomatoes, and I've already planted the tomatoes here. And this year I decided I'll use like the cattle panels for the tomatoes. I really plant the favas to bring nitrogen back into the soil, but the beans are really good to eat, especially at this size. You can make like a curry and eat the whole beans and pods together when they're tender. It was early, but I thought I would start some summer squash, and they're actually doing really well. So in the trough here I have summer squash and some flowers. This bed is going to be the greens bed, and they're actually not really doing that well. But I still have plenty of time to start more. Isn't that one beautiful? Isn't that one beautiful celery plant? This bed, this is beets that I planted in the fall, and I noticed some of the yellow beets are trying to go to flower. They're bolting. So I've been feeding them to the chickens, and I guess it'll be time to start some more. And then I have lettuce and arugula and spinach. And here I just started some mixed greens, and you can see that they're just starting to come up. The calendula, I get enough flowers from this little bunch of calendula to make my salve once or twice a year. It gives off so many. This bed I planted carrots, and you can see they're really thick, because sometimes carrots come up and sometimes they don't, but I can easily thin this out. The borage, who has completely taken over, and I will probably remove this pretty soon. And that's one of the things about having a small garden. Even though this is a beautiful plant, I just don't have space for it. So it's got to come out. And here is some mixed greens that I planted in the fall, and they're pretty much done. Over on this side I had beets, and I've been taking them out, and I put some cucumbers. It's kind of early for cucumbers, but they're actually doing okay. And I will start some more from seed directly in the soil soon. This is going to be my cucumber bed. And the peas, so I started these peas in the fall, and really there was only like one plant that grew. So then I kept on reseeding and reseeding. So now I've got a decent amount of peas kind of growing. And I notice there's lots of peas to be picked. And they're just so yummy when they're so fresh. Here is the green stalk with the strawberries. And I planted these strawberries last spring. I'm actually going to pluck the flowers off so the plant will focus on growing a stronger plant before strawberries. It needs to get a little bit bigger and have more leaves. So I'll pluck a bunch of the flowers off because these are everbearing, and then come July or so I'll have really good strawberries. So here along the sidewalk there's more borage, which I'll probably have to remove as we know the plant gets so big. And here is one of the little lavender plants that I started last year. And you know, it's really doubled, tripled in size since last year. There's a lot of sunflowers coming up. And then here is the lavender I planted a few years ago, and I realized I probably should have cut them back even more, but that's okay. Lavender becomes pretty scraggly unless you really put a lot of time in trimming it. And the pomegranate tree has budded all its leaves out, and I really cut it back because I wanted it more upright, so I probably won't get very many pomegranates from it this year. So here in the rock garden I cleaned it out with all the wildflowers and weeds that were in there, and then I rearranged some of the plants, and it's looking really good. And this will be good till pretty much next year. Sometimes in the fall I'll have to pick some weeds, but otherwise this will be good until next year. And along here as you go up to the front door, I really enjoy my succulents and rock garden. And here are the pots that I rearranged earlier in the late winter, and they're looking really good. And I cleaned up all this area too. I left these little blue flowers. They were originally here when we moved in, and they come back every year, so I just leave them there, and then they kind of die off, and then I'll clean them up. But all this is looking really good. This beautiful jade plant flowered during winter, so I picked all the flowers off, and I also thinned it out because it was getting really heavy. And over here Get more hollyhocks and flowers. So here in the backyard, the apple tree is starting to bloom. My new thornless rose bush is starting to flower. They're really pretty little flowers. I'm excited to have them here. The fig tree's just starting. It's kind of interesting that it grows little figs before leaves. You can see here, these figs have gotten kind of big and the leaves are just starting. And the spoiled chickens, they really just like the grubs and greens. They really don't like any other grains. Spoiled. I just gave them some grubs, so they're out there looking for them. The sesame has new leaves, and I see that it's starting to get some flowers. And when they open up, they just smell so sweet. Passion fruit vine is starting to get some new growth on it. The nice thing about having the passion fruit here is it doesn't get a lot of sun, so it doesn't get crazy, but it still does produce some fruit, and also it doesn't get frost, so it keeps its leaves all winter and it doesn't die back. The persimmon tree has gotten its leaves and they're so pretty. They're like a light green. They look so tender and just new. And this tree really grows fast. It's only been here 3 years. Maybe this is its 4th season. And it's just gotten huge. And the lemon tree. The rats have left it alone, so I still have lemons on it. And then it's been blooming. And the flowers are so sweet. Here's what's left of the tomatoes and peppers. I've been selling them for about a month. I'm almost done. Look what I have here. Loofahs. I had such a hard time last year getting them to germinate and sprout and grow, but not the case. So, because I had such a hard time, I just threw a bunch of seed that came from loofahs that I grew last year into a container, and pretty much all of them germinated. So I have separated them out, and loofahs for all, so others can grow sponges for themselves. Look how beautiful this parsley is. And I have enough onions for the whole city. I actually just saw somebody said that they trim their onions down. So I was going to look into that. Because I would like them to get bigger before I plant them out. We got something new here on this Urban Homestead. Bees. I had a beekeeper friend bring me a swarm yesterday, and we're going to keep them on the roof. And I can already see them coming out. He actually says they do really good on the roof because bees like to fly up and out and have nothing in their way, so this is perfect. And then they can come down and get everybody's flowers. Well, that is it for this tour in early spring, and lots happening and lots of new life. and it's exciting. Well, if you like this video, make sure you click that like button and subscribe, because there's lots to happen on this channel. And hopefully just in a few weeks, I'll be on my 26 acres homestead in Oregon. So come along for that journey. And thank you very much.